In this video, I'm going to show you some of the mistakes people have made when they're retired and how you can not only avoid them, but give you the knowledge to potentially save you more money in retirement. And if you stick with me until the end of the video, I have a very special offer for you if you're thinking about retiring or have recently retired. Dealing with money is feared by most people because it's not something we're ever taught about. We learn by ours and sometimes other people's mistakes. So it's not surprising that the majority take the initial offer given to them by their pension company without being aware that another option could have suited them better. The pension companies don't help. Most people I've dealt with put their annual statement away the moment it arrives, as they don't understand the information and the terminology used is confusing. So when their pre-retirement pack lands on their doormat, rather than it being an exciting paperwork that's going to let them have the freedom that they've craved, it's dealt with a feeling of dread. No wonder most are unaware of all the options. Let me tell you about Ian. He had to retire early because he had a heart attack. He wasn't in the best of shape. He also suffered from asthma, smoked and was overweight. He told me that when he retired, he just completed the forms that his pension company sent him, accepting what they offered. He hated paperwork at the best of times, but when he retired, he was recuperating from the heart attack and really couldn't be bothered with any hassle. However, if he'd been aware that due to his health and lifestyle, he could have bought an impaired life annuity and he could have received around 50% more income than he actually got. So knowing these things beforehand can be so beneficial. Ensure you make the most of what you've got, even if it's a stressful time. Pensions don't have to be scary. With a little knowledge and understanding, you can easily figure out what is best for you. How do I know this? Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm Zan and I've been in the pension industry for 30 years. During that time, I've worked for different financial advice companies, accountancy practices, before setting up my own independent advisory firm over 10 years ago to provide advice to individuals. I'm pleased to have clients that I've been advising for decades, helping them build their pension pots, sometimes advising them to transfer for better deals, and then working with them to ensure they obtain the best income to suit their needs when they retire, whilst making sure they don't pay too much tax. Most of my clients have introduced me to their children, who have also become clients over the years. Along the way, I've picked up a huge amount of knowledge and experience, as well as awards. I'm currently shortlisted for Investment Advisor in the Southwest and Woman of the Year. During all these years, there's one thing that everyone I've met has in common. They have no idea of all the options available to them when they think about retiring. It's no surprise, even trying to get information on your own pension plan can be frustrating, and if you don't know the right questions to ask, you don't stand a chance. There have been so many changes in pension legislation over the years, many for the better, which give you a much greater degree of choice and flexibility on how you take your pension benefits. But with all the changes, pension providers have not had to change their offerings, which means that you could end up not being offered all the options because your plan doesn't offer them. Once upon a time you worked and saved into a pension scheme with your employer, or a private arrangement if there wasn't one at work. At retirement, your employer paid you a pension, or you bought a product with your private scheme that gave you a guaranteed income. All this by the age of 75, simple, little choice and flexibility. I know, dealing with hundreds of different companies and getting information from pension providers can be infuriatingly difficult. It's almost like they don't want to tell you what you can do with your pension pot, just in case you take the money away from them. Hey, it's your money. The other big problem is finding all the information. Sure, it's out there, but drawing together all that information in order to allow you to make the right decision is time-consuming and pretty boring. If you're thinking about retiring, you haven't got the time to be searching numerous internet pages, and if you're already retired, you've got better things to do with your time. What if you could access everything you needed in one place? Would that be useful? When it comes to making decisions on drawing benefits from your pension, it's not so easy and there's so many options. Do you take all the tax-free cash immediately or do you drip feed it over time? Should you buy an annuity or leave the money invested and draw from the pot when needed? If you buy the surety that an annuity offers, what about all the other options that you can add? What do they mean? Are they right for you? Do you qualify for an enhanced annuity? And what's Flexi Access Drawdown all about? And the jargon? Enhanced Annuity, F Plus, Drawdown, Flexi Access, TFC, PCLS. It's enough to drive you mad, it's so confusing. Often if things are confusing or seem too difficult, they get pushed back to the back of the queue, where they stay until they become urgent, and that's when the decision made is usually the easiest, not the best. What if you understood what all the different terminology meant and it was explained in sensible terms, not pension industry gobbledygook? Would that be helpful? What about tax? No one wants to pay too much tax. In fact, most of us would prefer to pay as little as possible. The way you take your pension can dramatically affect the tax you pay. I got talking with David during dinner at a friend's house a few years ago. He told me that when he retired, he bought the annuity his pension provider offered, thinking that that was the only option. He mentioned that when he started to receive the income, it was much more than he'd expected, but it meant he was a high rate taxpayer, so he ended up paying 40% tax. David died recently and the annuity died with him. Had he known that there were other options, he may have chosen to just take the amount of income he needed, reducing the tax he paid, and on his death the remaining pension money could have passed to his children rather than just being lost. And you shouldn't just think about your pension as being the only way to provide income when you retire. There are many other types of investment that can provide you with a tax efficient income. I can show you how to obtain income of $32,800 without having to pay any income tax. Now, would that be interesting? And don't forget the state pension. Do you know when you'll get your state pension and how much you'll get? Do you qualify for the full state pension? And if not, do you know what you need to do to improve it? Again, there's been so many changes that it's difficult to keep up with it. There are three main questions I think everyone has. How much have I got? In other words, what's my pension pot worth? Then how much will I need? And then finally, what's the best way to use my pension pot to provide for what I need? And if you don't ask the right questions, you don't have the information you need, and it is so easy to make the wrong decision. Let me tell you about Alison, who I met at a wedding last year. Her daughter was one of the bridesmaids, and Alison was sitting next to me at the reception. We got talking about the wedding, children, jobs and life in general, as you do on these occasions, and she told me that her husband Peter had died 8 years ago. He was only 71. She did say that when he retired, his company had given him two options, an income of $12,500 a year or $7,100. Understandably, when faced with this choice, he chose the higher amount. Sadly, when he died, his income died with him. Alison has had to continue to work so that she has an income to support her and their daughter. I find this type of thing fairly typical. Had Peter understood that the lower annuity amount would provide a continuing income for Alison on his death, he may well have made a different decision. I always find that once people know what I do for a living, that they want to talk about their situation. As I said earlier, it's not something we're taught about. I assume it's a bit like being a doctor. People want to discuss their ailments with them. People want to talk to me about their finances, hoping to glean an insight into how best to deal with them. I also met Susan at the same wedding. She had retired a few years earlier. When she received her paperwork and the pension company mentioned that she could take it all out, that's exactly what she did. She paid off some debts and then took a family on a holiday to the Dominican Republic. She told me they had a wonderful time. But now she's living on a state pension, as she's nothing else. And taking all the pension as a lump sum meant she lost more because she had to pay more tax. She told me that she was having to sell her house and move into rented accommodation to give her some capital. Unfortunately, she didn't consider how much money she would need in the future. She just saw the value of her pension pot. So what's the answer? Well, you could go to see an independent financial advisor who's able to get all the information about your own schemes and compare that to what else is available. They can discuss with you what you want and need and come up with a recommendation for you. I know that not everyone has the time or money to use their services, and there just aren't enough advisors for everyone. I also know that some people feel intimidated and don't want to speak to such a person. This bothered me because knowing this stuff is so important in helping you make the right decision. So I spent a lot of time thinking about a way to get the information to you quickly and easily, helping you really understand the options, tell you of the questions to ask yourself as well as your pension providers, so that you realise what could change and alter your income requirements. I wanted you to be able to make the right decision for yourself. That's why I created the pension programme. A programme that takes you step by step through the exact process I use with my clients to know what you currently have, find out what you need and tell you about all the options in a straightforward, understandable way. Help you appreciate what might change once you've retired and making you aware of the other income streams you can obtain, including the state pension. When retiring, it's important to consider the different reasons you'll need money. It's often not just income. Having a way to identify and sort out how much, when and why will make sure there are no unpleasant surprises. You'll find a very helpful worksheet for this. Many people think that when they retire, they only consider today's needs. The retirement journey is never a flat line of needs. You'll need to identify the probable shape of yours. We have tools for you to do just that. With the pension programme, you will be in a perfect position to make the right decision for you and your family. Now, I had two choices with this. I could either make the programme as cheap as possible, hoping to get as many members as possible. But the problem with that is I couldn't really load on the value for you. So I decided to go with the second option, which requires a slightly higher investment on your side. But in exchange for that, I've dedicated more time, energy and resources to help guarantee your success. Let me tell you about what others who've used the pension programme before say. Roy, soon to be 65, lived with his wife in a bungalow, still had a mortgage. He wanted to know what level of income his pension arrangements would provide. He didn't think he could stop working, but he needed to know whether he would be able to, had to stay with his current employer or could look for something closer to home on a part-time basis. He had a couple of follower salary schemes from previous employers, some personal pension plans, and didn't know where to start. He used the pension company questionnaire template to write to his schemes to get all the information. He then went through the masterclasses so that he had a clear idea about what he had and what he wanted. He decided that he could continue to work for another year, leave his final salary pension schemes until he ceased working, but he decided to draw on his personal pensions. They gave him a lump sum to pay off a loan and the outstanding mortgage. He's since fully retired without needing to take any part-time work. He's debt-free and has sufficient pension income for his needs, which will increase each year to provide an income for his wife if he dies before her. Then there's Jim, aged 75, who was married with no debts. He wanted a no-risk income for himself because his wife had her own pension income. He told me that having watched the masterclasses and worked through the options available, he realised that as a diagnosed diabetic who also had high cholesterol, that he was a good candidate for an enhanced annuity, which would pay him a higher income. He made an application for this enhanced annuity, which would increase each year to help maintain the value, and he decided there was no need for a guaranteed period, which would reduce the initial annuity because his wife had her own income. He was very pleased that the annuity company offered him an extra £8,320 a year that he would have got if he'd taken the original offering from his pension company. And then there was Barry. He was already retired and had income from the state pension, a final salary pension scheme, private pension, as well as income from dividends. This totalled $46,600. He had other investments that he wasn't taking any money from. Poor Barry was having to pay an additional tax bill of £7,000 on top of the normal tax. Having seen the masterclass How to Maximise Income and working through the case studies and worksheet, he realised he couldn't alter the final salary scheme, but he stopped his personal pension income. He then switched some of his shares with high dividends for some that had lower dividends, so they were more tax effective, and he started to take money from his other investments. Ultimately, he ended up with income of $53,000, and he reduced his tax bill to $1,984. He is a very happy man. So, as you can see, the pension programme will work for anyone who is thinking about retiring or those that are already retired. When you pay the one-off fee, the pension programme will give you access to 14 fun masterclasses, all the latest, most up-to-date information that you need. These build on each other to give you the knowledge that you require to be able to make the right decision for your own situation. Hey, it took me decades, multiple exams and hundreds of client meetings to have the knowledge and understanding of this vast subject. You may not be a pension expert by the end of these classes, but you will be an expert in your own pension circumstances, and that's all you need. So, the pension programme includes 14 short fun masterclasses, but that's not all. As part of this package, you will receive my templates, which provide you with a simple way to get information. When I was first figuring out all this stuff, getting information took hours, days, and sometimes weeks. I'd constantly have to go back to companies to get additional information. So I eventually created these templates so that you don't have to spend as many frustrating hours, and I'm going to give you them with the package as I know they work, which means that you'll get the right information first time. I know that getting information can be scary, but don't worry, these templates make the job so easy. Add your name, plan number, print, and you're good to go. I'm also going to give you access to forms that you'll need to get other information, such as the state pension forecast. This is going to make it faster and easier for you to deal with it. Rather than having to spend time on the phone or searching the internet, you'll have everything in one place. New information can be daunting, and it can be difficult to know whether you've understood what you've been seeing. So, I've designed short quizzes which help you check your understanding. Another time-consuming process is drilling down to what your income goal actually looks like. I've produced a questionnaire that will break down the thought process, so you will know exactly how much you need, how often, and how to provide it. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. This proven method will save you so much time and a heap of frustration. Having worked with so many people, I've come across every possible pension income question there is. As a result, I've put together lots of case studies. Some I've mentioned earlier. I share the full information of what can be achieved and how it can be done. You're bound to find someone that has a similar position to you and see what they did to get the results they wanted. You'll also find lots of examples throughout the masterclasses which help clarify the information. It doesn't matter how you've faced decisions in the past. This package will give you step-by-step process you need in order to get the outcome you desire. We all know the saying, a problem shared is a problem halved. Being able to talk with others going through the same journey as you can be so helpful, and that's why as a member of the pension programme you'll have access to the members only Facebook group, a group where you can ask questions, share any problems you're facing and generally interact with others in the same situation as yourself. This group will be available immediately after payment. It's hard to put a value on this one, but people have said it's been absolutely priceless. So, if you were able to have the information to become an expert in your own pension situation, what would that be worth to you? I totted up the value of everything that is provided, the masterclasses, templates, forms, quizzes, questionnaires, case studies and examples, and Facebook members group, and I was astounded that it came to £2,956. Don't panic. I'm not charging you £2,956 for the pension programme, but if by buying it all it did was save you hours of frustrating searching on the internet, would it be worth it? And if all it did was give you the right questions to ask your pension providers and yourself, so that you got the information you needed to make the right decision, would that be value for money? What if the benefit of being a member of the pension programme was to get you the income you need without having to pay tax? How much would having peace of mind, knowing that you've made the right decision, be worth? How good would it feel to know that you've done the best you can and you won't run out of money? You can probably understand why people pay thousands of pounds for such results from me. Because it's not actually a cost, it's an investment. You've already seen how the pension programme is worth £2,956. However, I know that at that cost, I would not be able to help those that would really benefit from buying it. If you were to go to an independent financial advisor and get them to do this for you, it would cost you around £2,800. But because you are learning how to do this for yourself, and I'm giving you the tools and resources to make it happen fast, I've priced the programme for a one-off fee of £237. But I have an even better offer available for you, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So, at this point you have 4 choices. Choice 1 is to take the first offer that your pension company sends you. It's the easy, no hassle option. But you'll probably miss out on more income and have no flexibility in the future if your circumstances change. Choice 2. Try to find out everything you need to know. This will take you hours and hours, and if you don't know the right questions to ask, it's difficult to know if you get the right information. And how do you know whose advice to follow? Because there's a lot of conflicting advice out there, some of which is nonsense. Choice 3. Go and see a financial advisor who'll do everything for you and give you a recommendation, but this comes at a much higher cost. Or you could invest a small amount today and try the pension programme, where you'll discover exactly what you need to know and what you should be doing 5 years before retirement, 12 months before, and at the time of retirement, so that when it comes to making the decision, you'll be confident in making the right choice. I'm so sure that you'll be delighted with this programme that I'm offering a 14-day money-back guarantee. If, having been through the masterclasses and taken the time to consider the information, you don't feel it was worth the cost, I'll refund the fee. So you can test drive it and see how it works. You've nothing to lose. You haven't known where to start with sorting out your retirement income. Is it worth a few minutes of your time to check this out? Even if it only does half of what I've claimed, it will soon pay for itself. Excuse me. So remember, when purchasing the pension programme, you'll have access to 14 masterclasses, all the templates giving you a simple way to get the information, all the standard forms for information for them, the quizzes to test your understanding of the information and check that you've picked up the most important points for you, questionnaires to really understand your requirements, access to all the case studies so that you can see how others have made their decisions and examples that make more sense of the information. And of course the Facebook members group, a place where you meet others going through the same journey and be able to ask questions. Now, as I mentioned earlier, my very special offer for the next 50 people that sign up, and I'm only going to make this available for 7 days or until the places have been taken, I'm offering the pension programme for a one-off fee of £97. Now, at this price, I'm barely covering the time I've spent putting together the programme and all the extras, so places are not going to hang around for long. If you want to buy at this price, be one of the next 50 to purchase. And if you're still on the fence, now is the time to click below. Get started. Remember, there's no risk. You have a 100% money-back guarantee. The only way to know if it's right for you is to get started right now. I'm looking forward to meeting you on the other side.